Hello and welcome to Altitude. We're here at DroneX, the UK's leading drone exhibition. With commercial flights taking place in the UK every day, our drone industry is growing fast. And we're here to talk to the people who are making that happen. I'm joined by Craig Roberts from PwC, author of their Skies Without Limits report. Craig, wonderful to have you back on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me back. It's great to be here.
Craig, last year we spoke about the third edition of your report. What's happened in the year since?
Well, if you recall, one of the big themes in Skies Without Limits version 3 was the UK's attitude to risk and how that contrasted to the risk attitude in comparable countries like the USA. So we've taken that and we've run with it. We've actually pulled together an entire paper. The paper's called UK Drone Regulations and Net Risk, Balancing a Risk to Unlock Growth and Save Lives. And so we have really lent into this topic and analysed the attitude to risk across a number of comparable peer countries, and we've contrasted that to the UK, and we've made some suggestions for how to get a few more things done a bit more quickly and benefit society.
So how does the UK compare to other states?
What we've got in this paper are Canada, the USA, EASA member states, and Singapore, and we've picked those to kind of cover a wide range of airspace and just volume of flight permissions. And what we really see here is that the UK is less permissive, so less things are allowable in the UK, and less prescriptive, so it's not quite as solid and as obvious how to obtain your flight permission as it is in these comparable countries.
And do you make recommendations in the report for change?
We do indeed, but I should probably take you through a little bit of the report methodology first, Russell, before we get into the punchline.
Okay, talk to me.
So what we've done, we want to understand risk. So we thought, okay, how do we understand risk? How do we control for the different reporting, the different attitudes, and the different, shall we say, overall approaches in each of the countries? And we thought, you know what? Insurers have got skin in the game. They underwrite drone flights, they set the premiums, they're actually at the coalface, if I'm not mixing too many metaphors there. And so we asked a bunch of insurers, we have a couple quoted in the paper, what's actually driving the risk profile for your claims, for your premium setting? And it's not regulation, I think is the punchline. Other things are driving the risk. And the other thing they mentioned was that 10 years ago, the understanding of everybody who was writing insurance was that drones were going to be quite a risky proposition. But 10 years hence, and we have a massively reduced risk profile. And that's very much the same over all these comparable countries, over all these different regulatory regimes. So what's driving risk is actually things like pilot training, the progress in terms of drone technology, things like the consolidation of the industry. So fewer Fred in the sheds, I'm not sure what the PC version of that is, but fewer mum and pop shops probably is better. And so that's what's actually driving risk. So we thought, well, that's interesting. So as far as the insurance companies, yeah, these guys with skin in the game, as far as they know, risk is pretty similar across these comparable countries. Okay, so after we understood what the insurers thought about risk, we trawled the official reports from all the comparable countries to understand the incidents that are being reported and which of those were serious and just what was the volume. And the numbers are in the report, but fundamentally there's a very small number of incidents from 2022 to 2024, and very, very few of these are serious. For example, in the USA, we worked out there's around about 23 million flights took place last year. That's taking the number of commercial pilots and multiplying it by 50 flights per commercial pilot per year. And of those 23 million flights, there are only 3 investigated accidents reported through the official channels. And so we have this incredibly low absolute drone risk. So that's what we found, and it gives a few thoughts in terms of regulatory approach.
Excellent. So you have your eye across the entire industry. What positive changes have you seen in the industry over the last year?
There has been, in the UK, there's been a lot of traction in terms of things like the atypical air environment policy. That's great news. The implementation of SORA 2.5, again, this is progress. There's a lot of commentary on SORA, the good, the bad, and ugly in the paper, but it's still overall progress. In the US, we're just talking about Cyberhawk there. They managed to get a US-wide BVLOS repair line inspection permission, so lots of traction there. In Canada, they're about to launch an entirely new system in terms of how they categorize drone risk. They have something called a lower risk BVLOS permission, which really simplifies the process of flying BVLOS in Canada. So that looks very exciting there as well. And there's really a lot happening, but what I'm saying in the paper, really, what we're saying in the paper rather, is let's learn from what's happening internationally in our peer countries, and let's then take that and simplify the regulatory approach in the UK. And to do that, we think we've got to pick winners.
Craig, in terms of picking winners, what does that mean?
Well, we talked about the concept of net risk, it's the title of the paper. And so what we're trying to do here is say, okay, which use cases will really benefit society the most? And in terms of picking winners, we have 4 criteria. One is tangible benefits, so faster, obviously safer, cheaper, better for the environment. The next thing is that the ground and air risk, the aviation risk, should be as low as possible, relatively speaking. The next thing is that the regulatory complexity required to actually introduce the new regulation should be low. And finally, and most importantly, there should be really compelling end customer pool. So if, say, for example, a PDRA, predefined risk assessment, is put together for a BVLOS use case, there's got to be somebody who will really pool that, use it extensively, and that's how you get a shot in the arm for the UK economy, and also you reduce societal risk.
Perfect, thank you, Craig. And in terms of a prediction for 2026, what do you think is going to happen next?
What I think is going to happen is probably moderate growth, but I do think the CAA has the tools and the funding to maybe just change the mindset a little bit and light blue touch paper. So we're talking about standardized, repeatable BVLOS permissions. If that happens, everything could change.
Great stuff. Craig, thank you for joining us again on Altitude. It's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
A very popular guest on last year's show. I'm joined by Alan Hicks from Manna. Hello, Alan. Welcome to Altitude.
Hi, great to be back.
So Alan, you've been hugely successful in Dublin. Can you tell us a little bit more about the model that you have behind the business?
Sure. So, I mean, in Dublin at the moment, we're doing live commercial delivery 7 days a week. And I mean, what Manna does is we're last mile delivery. So an order comes in for food or coffee or ice cream. We will then load that into our drone, and instead of a courier driving to the house, we will actually fly it to your house, and we will descend to about 15 meters, and it'll magically come out of the drone on a little thread and arrive in your garden intact.
How are the partnerships with Deliveroo? How are they shaping things?
It's great. I mean, it's obviously put a much more commercial edge to the business, and really focused now on really fast delivery times. We're also getting orders now through different platforms, so it's not only proving our flight capabilities, but also our integration capabilities, which is a big part of the business.
And how do those partners report on the difference between the drone versus traditional methods of delivery?
Yeah, I mean, so far they absolutely love it, and customers love it as well, and they like the fact that they can order drone delivery through channels that they already are used to, like the apps that they have on their phone. And then it's just a much faster delivery experience and much more reliable. So I'd say it's on average probably 7 to 10 minutes faster.
Wow, that's fantastic. And can we expect to see that in the UK soon?
We hope so. We're talking to the CAA quite a bit at the moment, and we're looking at a couple of projects in the UK. Not exactly sure when they'll be, but we hope very, very soon.
One of the other things that you spoke about last year was the pace, the difference in pace between the aviation industry and startup culture.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that start to converge now?
A little bit. I mean, pace is still key to what we're doing. We've spent a lot of time since we spoke last around optimizing our supply chain, manufacturing, production lines, that sort of thing, because designing the aircraft, testing it to really high levels of safety is one thing. Building many of them reliably, repeatedly, that's been a big focus of us this year.
And what do you see as the kind of main barriers that need to be overcome in order to kind of see this become mainstream?
Yeah, I mean, I think, anybody who's been to Dublin would kind of see it as mainstream already, which is great, and we love having visitors over because they actually get to see it and experience it. I think Europe is really open now to expansion. Maybe, I'm not sure if we spoke about it last time, we've gone live in Helsinki. Maybe that's new.
Congratulations, I think that's also new.
Time is hard. So we're live in Helsinki,
right.
So we're doing flights there. Exactly the same as we do in Dublin. That's with a partnership we have with DoorDash, with their Volt brand. And we're still flying in the US. And so we're seeing the skies open up everywhere. And like I said, we're talking to the UK CAA as well, so hopefully it'll open up there too.
Perhaps another question around perception, public perception in particular. Obviously, you're making deliveries to people's homes.
Yeah.
How are you kind of tackling those public perception issues, if there are any?
Yeah, I mean, like anything new kind of has its challenges, and it's more about people's fear of the unknown. So we do a lot of community engagement. And we do a lot of work on trying to ease the technology into the area, and we do things like we route, when we dynamically do our routing, we automatically don't fly the same area for 2 hours and things like that. So we spread out and distribute the traffic. We've also just gone live with a new set of propellers, which reduces our noise by 30%, which is absolutely incredible. So no, we're always working on that to try and, some people don't love it, most people do love it, and for those that don't, we try and do what we can to kind of make them happy.
So you're Chief Technology Officer, you spoke about the new propellers there. What's next on your kind of roadmap?
Rowan, I kind of mentioned it there. Feature-wise, we're pretty rich in terms of the actual platform, and we've been developing that for 7 years. It's really now about how can we crank them out in a really, really reliable, stable way so we can expand.
Thanks, Alan. One final question for you then, probably a fairly big picture one. Beyond speed and convenience, what do you see as the main factors associated with drone technology that are likely to have a really positive impact?
I think environmental. I think it's massively beneficial to the environment. You're taking cars off the road. 1 in 5 accidents are actually delivery drivers because, their business model is how fast can I get this delivery done, hopefully without killing myself, and then get on to the next delivery. And doing that in the sky takes the traffic off the roads, it's greener, and it's ultimately safer for everybody.
Alan, thank you very much for joining us here on Altitude.
No problem. Pleasure to be here.
Last year we heard about NATS OpenAir, and Andy Sage is back to give us an update. Andy, hello and welcome back to Altitude. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. It is great to be back here. It's one of those events that's in the calendar and very much look forward to it every year.
So Andy, you spoke about OpenAir last year. Would you like to start with a bit of an update on what OpenAir is for us?
Yeah, sure. So OpenAir is our proposal to develop the digital data infrastructure that underpins the integrated airspace that all of these companies here are going to rely upon. We need to provide a common picture of the airspace for safety and allow all the interoperability between all the different actors that are going to be there in the airspace. And that's what we're proposing to roll out.
And I understand that since we spoke last year, a proposal has gone forward to the Civil Aviation Authority. What did that look like?
Yeah, it was the culmination of a lot of work and 2 great public consultations that gave us a lot of evidence. So we submitted both our technical proposals and our economic regulatory proposals as well. We now look forward to receiving our feedback from the CAA. That's due any day. In the meantime, we certainly have worked hard to make sure that proposal is well aligned to the CAA's airspace modernisation strategy, which was a key commitment in the government's manifesto this time last year.
So in terms of the technical proposal that you mentioned there, what are the kind of key highlights that the industry can expect?
Well, as we demonstrated this year, we did a couple of trials with customers earlier this year to test and validate our design and prove the value of what we're doing. So there'll be a lot more of that to come. We are involved in one of the Future Flight 4 funded programs this year, where we'll look to demonstrate how OpenAir can help in the rail sector and ensure that multiple operators can deliver great public benefit in that sector.
Very nice. So Andy, when can people expect to be able to take a service from OpenAir?
If all things go well with the CAA, then we hope to be able to provide the first assured operational services through OpenAir in 2027. Certainly the response from our consultation suggests that people need somebody to do this job and they need it done urgently, so we intend to try and meet that demand.
Andy, as the figurehead for OpenAir, what are you most proud of?
I guess the thing I'm most proud of is that we've tried to spend a lot of time with customers and operators, as you see here. We truly do not want to build something that isn't going to be absolutely critical and valuable, that's going to allow all of these businesses to scale up commercially. And therefore, I think the fact that we've tried to base the service on something that is truly needed, that's what I'm most proud of and what I hope we continue to do.
Thanks, Andy. So, looking around us here at DroneX, we're surrounded by the industry. What strikes you about the industry today?
You know, I've not been here long, but what's already struck me, and you notice the difference year to year, is the increase in the level of automation being proposed in the products and the vehicles here. And what strikes me is that automation can't be achieved unless you can scale up to one-to-many operations with multiple operators acting in the same airspace. So I do believe that what we're doing with OpenAir and other initiatives to try and allow that business to scale up is exactly what these businesses depend upon. That's what I've already noticed in the short time today.
That's a great observation, Andy. Andy, thank you very much for joining us again on Altitude.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Key to the future of flight is the Department for Transport, and I'm joined by Sofia Stayte to tell us a little bit more. Hello, Sofia. Welcome to Altitude.
Hello, Russell. Really good to be here.
How are you finding the show, Sofia?
It's great. It's really, really good to be here and see all the new stands and new parts of the sector, and it's really, really good to engage with the stakeholders and be able to share what we have been doing in the program.
I saw that you were engaging earlier. You were giving a presentation. What were you talking about?
So I was sharing the highlights from the program, the Future Flight program, which is led by the Department for Transport. We're working with the CAA, we're working with the industry, and I just wanted to share some of the milestones we have now met in the last couple of years to show that we're making really good progress towards our objectives.
And what are the big milestones that you're really proud of?
So we completed trials last year. We know that we can now do these use cases that will bring economic growth in the UK. So we have some police trials, we have some health trials, and that's been really incredible. And we are working to reform the regulation to keep up with the pace and further reform coming ahead.
And Sofia, in terms of looking forward now, what's the next most important step that you think DFT can take right now?
So what is really, really critical is that we deliver the two strategic objectives of the program, and the main one on drones is BVLOS, routine BVLOS by 2027, and on eVTOLs is achieving commercial piloted flights from 2028. And what is really important is that we all join up behind those two objectives, that they are shared, that they reflect where the industry wants to go, and they reflect where the public sector is driving the growth, because these are going to be the key unlocking milestones to provide the scale.
So in terms of those milestones, are we on track?
Yes, we are. It's really great. So we completed some trials, as I said, so we are progressing really, really well, and we are developing a milestone plan to present to the next Future of Flight Industry Group that oversees the program to show what is coming up and what the next milestones will be. But yes, absolutely on track, and it's really lovely.
Excellent. In terms of regulation, sometimes it can be cited as a barrier to innovation. I wonder, what work are DFT and CAA doing together to ensure that policy supports innovation?
Well, the UK is the most advanced and most stable regulatory environment for drones and eVTOLs in the world, actually, and we're very, very proud of that. And the only way to maintain that stability, to make it an advanced regulatory framework, is to develop regulation with the industry and join up behind any regulatory reform and make sure that we're consulting with communities and making sure that people's needs are met and thinking about the citizens of the future, as well as driving the economic growth that the sector needs to grow and become a commercial model.
So you mentioned the people there, you mentioned engagement with the public. What work are you doing to address public perception of new technologies such as drones?
So we're doing a lot of social research. We want to make sure we listen to what the public want. We're not here to educate people, we're here to share information and then reflect and understand where we want to go next. We're encouraging the industry to make community engagement events before they launch operations and make sure that they're including local authorities in this journey. This is new. This is not the way we've done aviation before. Aviation has always been national, international, not at local level. So being able to do that locally will absolutely unlock that engagement.
If we look to the future now, so if we fast forward 10 years, how would the DFT like to see the skies of the UK look?
We would like to see integrated airspace. We would like to see drones flying alongside eVTOLs and commercial aircrafts and the system growing in a way that's safe and secure. But I have to say the most important thing for us is that it delivers the economic growth that we're hoping for. We know now, after the Fraser-Nash report was published recently, that it could deliver up to £103 billion in the UK by 2050. I would love to see those numbers add up for Treasury.
Sofia, thank you very much for joining us today on Altitude.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Attracting a lot of attention at this show is the Solent Future Transport stand, and I'm joined by Mehmet Erbil to tell us a little bit more. Mehmet, hello and welcome to Altitude. How are you finding DroneX?
I love it here. I mean, we've been coming for a few years now, and I can see every year the progress with the tech is just phenomenal, so we just love being part of it.
Mehmet, it's often said that it's important to start with why when we think about the adoption of new technologies. What's the why behind the delivery of pharmaceuticals using drones?
That's a great question. Currently, I'm afraid, once the drugs are made, they have a very limited time before they become obsolete. There's many middlemen operators in the middle where it's a taxi driver, ferry operator, another taxi driver. By the time the hospital actually gets the chemotherapy, especially with the Isle of Wight. Now, when the weather conditions are bad, unfortunately, those medicines become obsolete, and they have to remake it the following day and the following day until the ferries are operating again. And we could be into the tens of thousands by the time the patient gets their drugs. Not only is this delaying the patient's treatment, but actually it's a very big tax burden for the taxpayer. So if we were to skip all the middle operators and go straight to the drone, you could not only get the drugs across quicker, but you could save so much time and money. And if it's operating beyond the limits of the ferry, then you're sure to have a winning result, you know.
It's a big efficiency gain then.
Absolutely.
And Mehmet, what's happening behind us here? Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes, sure, certainly. So we started with the box. So what's in the box? It's essentially a medical transport case. So we started with that, and we designed the drone around it. But we looked at the problem holistically, not just the drone. We looked at the logistics routes that some of these medical packages are being taken around the country, but also the airspace as well. So it was an interesting sort of progression, because we had to work in parallel with all the projects that were going along and design a drone alongside. So we designed the drone to be as safe as possible to approach. So as you can see, most of our spinning propellers have got a duct around it. Again, it was to consider the person loading the medicines onto the drone. They might not be trained or around machinery as such, so we thought we'd try and make it as safe as possible. The next problem is the islands. Islands tend to have quite gusty conditions, so you need to design something which could outperform the ferries. And right now, the performance of ferries within the Solent region, we're looking at about 30 miles an hour. As long as our drone could perform beyond that, when we're talking about takeoff, transition, and get to its final destination within those wind tolerances, we've got a winner.
And how does it perform?
It works just exactly as it was designed for. So we designed it, so we have a very experienced design team at Soton UAV within the university, and so we took the design from ground up, blank page, and like I said, design around the box, safety in mind, gust tolerating, and ultimately it led to something that looks like this.
And how much flight time have you had with the drone?
So we've been flying all summer. Our ambition actually is to fly in terrible conditions, because we need to push the flight envelope. We've got a few hours under the belt, let's just say, and we have exceeded the 30 mile an hour limit that the ferries are limited by. But as the winter's now approaching, where hopefully some of the storm could allow us that extended testing capability to see what the flight envelope of this drone looks like.
And so what's next for you, for Southampton University, Solent, and the drone?
Well, more testing, of course. The further we can understand its capabilities, you know, we could really sing and dance about it. We would actually like to get some drugs delivered to the Isle of Wight. I think that's always been our ultimate ambition. We had some flight trials over the Solent recently with TDA area to the Isle of Wight. We've conducted some tests as well, so that was really successful. But behind the drone as well, there's a lot of work going on with the medical side of things. So we've taken the drugs themselves and we've exposed them to the same vibrations that a drone in a typical flight would experience. Additionally, road-based transportations as well, and compared the like. And are the drugs safe? Yep, they tick all the boxes. It's safe for transportation, and the box as well has to tick a box. It needs to fall from 400 feet, not leak out. There was a lot of to and fro with the various authorities to ensure we're complying with the regulations, but also helping build some of that regulation.
Mehmet, thank you very much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us
Thank you for
on
having us.
Altitude. Cheers. I'm joined by one of our Altitude season ticket holders, Louisa Smith from Apian. And today, Louisa is joined by Tom Rehwinkel from Matternet. Louisa, Tom, welcome to Altitude. Louisa, when we spoke last year, you were just about to get the permission for your ambitious London Health Bridge project. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going great. Thank you for asking. We got our permissions last year and we've been operating in the centre of London between Guy's and St Thomas Hospital. We've flown over 6,000 patient samples in that time, and it's been really great to work with the NHS on how that business case and looking at expansion sites and which new locations we'll be going to. So it's going really well. It's super positive to be kind of here telling people about it and looking at the work that we're looking forward to next.
It's an incredible use case. I think everybody's touched by it. What are you most proud of in terms of the project and what you've delivered?
Overall, I'm super proud that we actually have delivered something in the centre of London, which a lot of people were a couple of years ago would say that we were crazy to be doing. But we've got approval and we're flying successfully. And I think it's nice to show that drones can be used in a high populated area like London and really deliver benefits to patients and the healthcare teams.
I think there's a lot to be proud of there. Congratulations, Louisa. So Tom, Matternet are new to the programme. Can you describe first of all, what do Matternet do?
Yeah, Matternet is an American company, one of the global leaders in medical drone deliveries in the urban environment. So we have BVLOS approvals in Switzerland already since 2017. And even today we have regular operations, daily operations between two hospitals in Zurich. We have SIL 3 approvals, and we have an LUC, a LUC, so we can self-authorize new operations in Europe based on EASA regulations. And the Matternet Inc. in the US designs and manufactures the aircraft. So we have the aircraft is designed and developed in-house, and it even got a FAA type certification as first and only one so far for the system. And we got a production certificate as well. So it shows the robustness of the system.
And in terms of your operational experience, you've been flying since 2017 between two hospitals in Zurich. How will you pick up that experience and translate that into the UK?
Well, what we saw, of course, Apian has its own experience now since last year, of course. But what we saw, it's not about just adding a drone to your logistics. It's really rethinking the way you do your logistics in your hospital. It's the availability of an automated solution 24/7 in the end. You don't need a car, you don't need to plan about the courier to arrive after surgery, etc. So that's the experience we definitely will bring towards the London case. And in general, the tens of thousands of flights we have already and all the experience related to flight ops, together with Apian will build a strong case, I think.
Thank you, Tom. So Louisa, Tom mentioned Apian's experience there in the UK. I'm aware that you've been flying in a temporary reserved area. Can you explain that construct for us?
Yeah, so a temporary reserved area is essentially a segregated airspace to allow the safe operations for beyond visual line of sight. What we'd look to do in the future is to move outside of that TRA and to operate with outside that segregated airspace, which I think everyone in the industry is working towards. But the data we've been collecting with our drone operator partners has been shared with the CAA and will help influence the policy and regulations now and in the future.
Thank you, Louisa. So you mentioned expansion earlier as well. What does that look like? What's next for you?
Yeah, so we've been working with our NHS customers to look at where next, and we want to scale across London, working with Matternet and our other drone operator partners to ensure that NHS have that on-demand delivery, that automated service which Tom mentioned, to allow them to be able to really deliver patient care faster and quicker and smarter. And we've got some really good use cases. One of the ones which I probably should have mentioned early on was in the current trials we've had, we've been able to support individuals who've unfortunately been suffering a heart attack at one of the hospital sites. We've been able to transport their pathology tests, turn them around within 29 minutes, which would normally take a couple of hours, which means that they can get their treatment really quickly, which is what we're all here for.
So in terms of expansion, are we able to get the scoop here in terms of where you might be going live next?
We've got some sites coming up, but you might have to interview us at the next time, and we can tell you where we're flying to then.
Well, we should look forward to that. Thank you, Louisa. In terms of a kind of final big picture question for you both, Tom, turning to you, what's your prediction for the drone industry, perhaps for the next couple of years?
Well, I think what we will see in the case we're talking about here, Apian, NHS, Matternet, is not just hospital lab, but I think what we will see in the near future, maybe the Matternet system is able, using a winch, lowering a payload to someone's address or whatever. And I think that's what the healthcare is looking for, to get less overcrowded hospitals, etc., and relieve the system by getting more treatments to elderly homes already instead of hospitals or people at home even. Our system is capable of, and I think together with Apian, that's what we will see in the near future, I think.
Yeah, and the NHS published their 10-year plan, which Apian feature part of, and that's really around care to the community. So we would like to, as Tom said, see things delivered to care homes, people's homes as well in the future.
Louisa, Tom, thank you both very much for joining us today on Altitude.
Thank you very much.